Do you read Stephen King? Good news, there's a club for you. The Losers Club. And guess what? You don't have to die at the hands of a shape-shifting clown to join. No, all you have to do is tune in every Friday as us losers journey through the never-ending wastelands of King's Dominion. Each week, we'll either spend hours reading between the pages of one of his books or chew on his latest tweets and Hollywood headlines. What's more, we're always having guests over. Thomas Jane, Mick Garris, Jerry O'Connell, Mary Lambert, Will Wheaton, and the list goes on. So what are you waiting for? Join us as we read on through long days and pleasant nights.
Consequence Podcast Network.
Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith With. It's an audio interview series presented by WFPK Independent Louisville at WFPK.org. Consequence of Sound and the Consequence Podcast Network. Take a second before we get started to hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to. We put out multiple interviews every single week. Would love for you to keep up with us, whether you're listening on YouTube, on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you download your favorite podcasts from. I'm Kyle Meredith. Today, my guest, Toro y Moi. Chaz Bundick's got a new record, Outer Peace. We're going to talk about exactly what Outer Peace means to him and how the themes of this record play into a quote that he said, how disposable culture has become and how it affects creativity, which means we'll also be talking about the title track, songs like Ordinary Pleasure, the first single, Freelance, and a song called Laws of the Universe, which is a little homage to James Murphy and the song Daft Punk is Playing at My House. There's also some conversation on how this relates to an album he put out in 2017 called Boo Boo, his work with Rome Fortune on the Toro y Rome EP, how he really wants to work with Darius Rucker, and finding out that his buddy Logic had gotten a tattoo of one of his albums. Talking about the record Outer Peace, it's Kyle Meredith with Toro y Moi.
Hey, how's it going?
I got to tell you, your new record, Outer Peace, it's not even out yet. I've heard it a few times, and it's a 2019 record, but it's like my favorite record of 2018.
It's a good sign.
It really is, man. You've outdone yourself. It is so extremely catchy, and of course, digging into it when you find out the themes of what we're talking about and everything. I mean, it's a pretty incredible record you've got here.
Thank you.
And it's called Outer Peace, and maybe that's the place to start right there, because that probably says a lot in the title itself. I know I'll quote you in the press release where you say this record is a response to how disposable culture has become and how it affects creativity. Does the title sort of set that up?
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly sort of just trying to, use my job as a way to ask questions. I feel like it's kind of like my duty to put out messages almost after a certain level of success, I kind of feel like I don't want to just spout out random crap. So I don't know. I felt like I really needed to have an angle on the lyric side of things and the thematic or the themes of this album. So I kind of felt like talking about technology and creativity. Those are two things that I find myself aligned with. And those are also things I feel like just everyone in general is becoming a little bit more familiar and aware of, because it's sort of forcing us to sort of think of our own personal brands, so to speak. So I feel like everyone can sort of see themselves as a creative if they have a phone.
Of course, inner peace is a phrase that we've been using for a long time, and once again, Outer Peace kind of plays on that. Furthering what you're talking about there, what exactly does the peace part of Outer Peace mean to you?
Well, I guess it was really mainly just sort of touching on the idea of peace is not necessarily inside of us these days. It's more like a zoning out of sorts. So it's kind of like an outer peace is in reference to just whenever you're bored and you just find yourself scrolling the internet on your phone, and that in its way it could be dark, but at the same time at least it seems peaceful. It seems like it's a double-edged sword for sure.
And of course, I mean, we hear that in a few of the songs. I'll hit on the single first, which again has been nonstop in my rotation right now. But
awesome.
Yeah, there's that line. It sticks out so much too. Silver or Black Mirror. And of course we know Black Mirror right now as a show on Netflix that sets up, I don't know what you call a dystopian future. I mean, or the dystopian present, I guess, in that sense. But and I guess that's the question there is what you're talking about. So many sci-fi writers, they've been talking about this stuff for years about the future. with the way you're, singing these lyrics, what you're talking about, everything, this is that future, right? To a certain point.
I feel like it is. We've got it. We've got all the things they've been talking about. It seems like, aside from like flying vehicles or whatever. But I mean, it feels like the future to me. It definitely, just like watching it grow from just a giant television to this thing in your hand. Like, I kind of feel like we're definitely plugged in. Like, it's not a bad thing, but we just got to be careful, I think, and sort of just just follow everything in moderation.
And how much of that? Because you're a person, we've talked before, and you've talked a lot of, in the past too. You like the outdoors. That's a big passion for you and everything. And then there's the technology side. How much of a struggle is that for you to keep that balance?
It's still hard. I mean, it's hard to just get motivated to go out and like just do nothing and walk around. And I think that's sort of that moderation I'm talking about, is like, as much as we're plugged in, we got to sort of just disconnect from technology every once in a while. And I feel like, I don't know, it's not like the only thing that's like on my mind these days, like, but it is something I feel like it's hard to do, to find that balance.
I'll bring up, while we're on the subject of sort of the outdoors, you're in California, right? I didn't know if the wildfires had affected you in any way.
I was fortunately gone for the smoke, and like I was on tour, but a lot of the area, I know it took a hit, but I wasn't personally affected by it. I had some friends that had family members that lost some property, but yeah, it's crazy how it can just go like that. I don't know.
I mean, and speaking of the present that we're in, I mean, these, California is now dealing with this yearly, every single year, and we've got our own issues in Kentucky, and of course, the climate report just came out that I'm really losing sleep over. You know what it's talking about right now. It's the warning signs that have been there forever, and now it's like, well, you fucked up. It's too late.
Right.
Like, how much of that lands in your mind?
I mean, if anything, I'll try my best as a human or as like a citizen to just recycle a little bit more or something like that. But I find myself, my habits are primarily healthy. Like, I don't know what more I can do aside from just stop driving. So maybe I'll just do that next.
We all might be forced to do that regardless. I'll take the lighter side of the record too, because, this is all very heavy stuff. There is a much lighter side because it's a really fun record on the surface. I mean, there's so much happening. Head over to Laws of the Universe and, here you are. And is it paying homage to James Murphy when you say James Murphy is spinning at my house in the melody of Daft Punk is at my house?
Right. Yeah, it's an homage / like little shout out to the indie world that many of my fans might not know or be familiar with, and I just kind of want to just bring that world up with me as well, and sort of just like represent where I'm coming from musically, creatively. Like, I'm not doing the stereotypical sort of like R&B hip hop route, and so just really just putting a nail in the coffin, really just showing the references. Are
you and James close? Does he know about this?
I don't think he does, but I'm not sure if Daft Punk knew about his song.
They would have eventually, though, and that's going to be the fun thing, if he catches on to this. And he's got a great sense of humor about all this. Yeah.
Really, it's just passing the baton.
The other fun thing about this record is, this comes so quick after Boo Boo, too. I mean, that was just a 2017 release. That right from the beginning, you're like, here it is, and there was sort of a question about how much promotion you were going to put behind that, which made me kind of wonder if this record was sort of a reaction to that in any way, like, okay, that's there, now let's move on to this.
It was definitely more of an immediate reaction to where I was, like, mentally, just, the political state just got into like the Trump era, and like I just moved to Portland and was going through a breakup, and so like everything was kind of just inverted for me, and I just wanted to put it out, not really like make it much of a statement, or not make it much of a, I didn't want to capitalize off it too much because it was more of a weaker point of like my emotional state, so I just wanted to put it out there. But for this one, I really wanted to take a pop approach and like do a rollout and like multiple interviews and really just be back in the public eye again with it.
Now, with it, existing in that state, though, I mean, is this still something you incorporate, into the live shows in the future?
Yeah, even just for this past tour that we just completed, we upped the production a bunch, and like I'm freehand and not really behind instruments as much, and it feels great, honestly. I think it's something that I've always wanted to sort of experiment with. But yeah, I think this record is definitely more of a, I don't know, I guess a traditional rollout, so to speak.
And it's got guests on it. I don't know. I mean, do you want to give us the lineup that you're working with this time around?
Yeah, on the record, the guest features are Kelly Zutral from Wet and Abra, Instupendo, and my keyboardist Anthony Ferraro. He plays some stuff on there. And so, yeah, we kind of really just started, I don't know, I kind of just knew that I wanted to showcase my production a little bit more on this record and give everybody a break from my voice. And that's why I sort of just have some songs with just the guests featured on it, and I'm not on it at all. And then some of it is kind of just like one feature for like Instupendo. He's not even singing on it, but it's more of just like a production feature and that kind of stuff. I felt like I wanted to start showcasing my musical community, sort of.
It's, you know, in an interesting way, maybe unintended. You can still play it as an album, and it works as a great album. But in the playlist era that we're in, it almost plays into that as well. You know, to a listener who might be used to the shuffle.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I'm a product of this generation as well. And I'm guilty of the playlist sort of mindset. It's kind of crazy, but it's all the good parts. It's all your favorite part.
While we're speaking on production, that was sort of the other part of this year with Toro y Moi, working with Rome Fortune. Did that have any bleed over to this record? You know, what you were taking from that versus how you were working on this one?
You know, I have to say, like, a lot of those productions I made outside of the Boo Boo sessions or outside of the Outer Peace sessions, it was like stuff that I was doing during Boo Boo. And I kind of just had like this folder of unused stuff, and I just gave it to him, and I was like, see if you can do something with it. And I kind of feel like that in itself, like just releasing all of that stuff and like letting go of it kind of got me motivated to, I don't know, going back to that whole like disposable culture kind of thing. Like it just made me ready to move on and like want to update my sound.
Well, for a person who's been, you know, no one's ever been able to really put you in the box. Many have tried with the critics because that's what we're always trying to do with label. But throwing out something like that, I mean, that's so different from all of the rest of your material. You know, it makes it really fun.
It's really fun to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
A curiosity here, you have mentioned on Twitter about, I can't tell how serious you are about wanting to work with Darius Rucker.
Yeah, I'm 95% serious. I think there is some irony in wanting to participate in country music these days, but I am a country boy. I am from South Carolina. He's from South Carolina. We're both trying to represent Columbia, right? And I would love to work with Darius Rucker. Like, all jokes aside, I love country music. I love pop music. And I don't know. I wonder if he's heard any of my more, like, singer-songwriting or, like, twangy stuff. But it'd be a really awesome collab.
I'm determined to help you out on this. I had Darius on. Oh, I taped an interview earlier this week, but there's going to be a new Hottie record. It's the 25th anniversary of Cracked Rearview next year. So,
amazing!
Yeah, I hope you do.
Yeah.
But I'm determined now that I know this to make sure that his management knows all of this. That's going to happen.
Please, yeah, thank you.
And since we're on the trivial too, I guess you call this trivial. Logic has, you know, got a tattoo of what for on it. And I feel like, I mean, people do this. Fans do this all the time. But when you have someone of prominence, I guess it takes a little bit of celebrity, I guess. It takes a bit more of the attention on there. And did that news get to you? Was that of interest?
Yeah. I mean, so Bobby's been in touch with me now for like a couple years, and he pretty much, got in touch with me right when I moved to Portland, and like we both just talked about work and relationships and just like approaches to like business stuff even, and like we both know that we're in like different worlds and like we're going to collaborate eventually, but he's so busy and like he's got like 2 albums always ready to go. Like he's just like one after another. So I don't know, to have someone that prolific and of prominence, like you're saying, to like reach out and like just be sort of a fan for a second and not even really about the business side of things. I feel like it's such a genuine thing that like is lost, honestly, in like the hip hop community. Primarily, it's like such a aggro world that it's hard to sort of hear out a lot of like hip hop artists because there's such a stigma with rappers of being like uncommunicative or just, I don't know. So like it was really sick, honestly, to like be able to get to know him and like hear him and how my music's helped him through some times.
And now you are a part of his physical body for
I know. It's
possibly ever.
It's really flattering. I don't have any tattoos myself, but I'm glad he picked that one because I've always told myself if I was going to get a band tattoo, it would be something a little bit more obscure than just the band logo or something.
Something that you've got to ask about, something that you've got to dig deep. Yeah. You can always get a temporary tattoo, just for some payback at least.
Yeah. It was cool. It was really cool.
Well, Chaz, thanks again for the talk today. I cannot congratulate you enough on Outer Peace. I'm in love with the record, and I'm such an admirer of what you do every single time. So thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for the support. And it's good to hear from you again.
Yeah, you too, man. We'll see you out on the road, and take care.
All right, peace.
And my thanks to Chaz Bundick. Again, the new Toro y Moi record is called Outer Peace. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to right now, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your favorite podcasts from. After that, you can head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show every Monday through Thursday from noon to 3 Eastern, where you can also find some bonus episodes of this series. You can also find me on Twitter at Kyle Meredith, Facebook /Kyle Meredith. Does it for me today. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.